What's up, everybody? It's Kev Kelm. This is WrestleZone. We are almost a month away from WrestleMania. We don't know when tickets are going to go on sale. They will. We have an idea of what the WWE Championship match will be, and so much more on the road to this thing that we remember, that we still remember, that is WrestleMania, that will be WrestleMania again. And your comments will be on screen tonight. It's your WrestleZone post show after a Monday Night Raw. WrestleZone! If you're watching, go ahead and share the link. Pass it on. Get your comments on screen. They don't have to be mean. Also, if you can hit that old thumbs up likey button, you see these thumbs up on the screen I'm giving to you, give that to this video, and it really, really helps. Sound off. Let us know what you think of WWE, where it stands with what's going on for WrestleMania, where it stands for what's going on for NXT TV, because we will have some buzzworthy stories to talk about with that and so much more. I'm Kev Kelm. That is John Clark. John Clark, who is furious, who is mad, who is fuming at his seat because he doesn't know when he's going to get WrestleMania tickets. John Clark, what is the status of you right now?
I'm doing okay. So the official announcement came at two different points tonight, about 9:30 and again at about 10:30, that they were still sorting out some of the specific logistical details, therefore they had to push back the date. We will know before next Monday a new on-sale date. Doesn't necessarily mean they'll go on sale by then. We'll just know the new date by next Monday. And then during the show, they also uploaded another test event to Ticketmaster for March 26th, next Friday.
So they at least gave you a date. Do you feel any solace in knowing the date? We'll get into Royal Rumble. Excuse me, Raw. It's the R's. The R's throw me off. So I jump into myself. So do you have any solace in knowing the date? Does that make you feel more comfortable? Because for those who follow the show, John Clark is dead set at being at WrestleMania this year.
Yeah, so what I think is that the closer we get, the more people are kind of just going to say it's not worth it anymore or whatever. There's always next year. I think the closer we get, because the thing that people don't realize is you can do your flights and hotels now and cancel them. But for some reason, everybody thinks they have to wait. Everybody thinks they have to wait for tickets before they can book a flight or they can book a hotel or whatever. And that's just simply not true. So I think the closer we get, honestly, I think the harder it's going to be for them to sell it out, because we've already discussed no international fans, and we're already trying to figure out, well, who from the United States is going to go. And I just think at this point, it's going to benefit the hardcore fan more the later it gets in the process, because I think the casuals are just going to be like, who's going to buy tickets 10 days before the show? You know, I mean, we're going to get to the point where you're going to be buying them at the gate.
You know what? Is that a bad thing, though? I mean, WrestleMania is the hardest of the hardcore events. It is still a casual event that casual fans will tune in for. But is it a bad thing if the hardest of the hardcore fans buy this ticket? Because they're there. There's...
It's funny because it's the same group of like 10 to 15 people always just talking about it on Twitter. I mean, obviously myself included, but if you look for like WrestleMania tickets on Twitter, it's always the same like 20 people like updating people or looking for updates or whatnot. So
Yeah.
There's a few diehards.
You're almost talking with each other about it at this point, right?
Yeah, at this point, we're just kind of trying to keep each other up to loop.
But also know it's Twitter. So, like on Facebook, it could be a different audience. On Instagram, it could be a different audience. It's this whole other myriad of different things.
A big part of it is looking for the trusted sources. I mean, there's a few on there like John Alba down in Tampa and WrestleVotes that when they get an update, you can rely on it being, accurate. So you just got to keep an eye. I mean, because there's a lot of scams going around. So there's like, for example, a link that's been going around saying I just entered for my chance to win free tickets, and it asks you for your name and email and phone number, and it's just a scam, and people are falling for it because
it's a data mining thing type.
yes,
thing. Yeah.
yep.
And I would be aware of those. Also, I would say this. I'm not saying pound us with those that you get, but if you see one that feels alarming and unsafe, don't be afraid to let us know about it at WrestleZone. And we have a little bit of a network and things like that. I wouldn't want fans to sign up for something like that and have it go a level further where it's like, oh, give us your email, give us your name, give us your phone number. Why don't you give us your credit card number too, or other things like that? I would hate if a fan got money taken from them at this point. There are fans saying you are obsessed. All right. These are people that follow the show. I love the people that follow the show. James Espanto Fernando Taguay says, I'm pulling for you at John R. Clark 12 to get those WrestleMania tickets. I love that we're all rooting for one person, and that one person is you with your buzz cut from Central PA.
Look, not everybody has to go. So for the people in the comments that are saying, why don't you just wait till next year or wait till SummerSlam? If you want to wait, go ahead and wait. For me, it's been over a year, and I'm tired of waiting more. So you feel free to wait another 6 months. I'm not waiting another.
But also, it's a lifestyle thing where you can have that separation from your family with enough time. Doesn't mean you don't care about your family. Maybe I'm not seeing my family until after Easter, right? So if I'm not seeing them until sometime in May, this works. I get it. Don't worry, we'll get into Monday Night Raw. Mike Orton saying my favorite Raw match was the women tag. He enjoyed that. Let us know what your favorite Raw match was tonight, because this is a pivotal Raw. We're about, almost 30 days away from Monday Night Raw, or, the Monday Night Raw road to WrestleMania. And then we have Fastlane this Sunday. So, I mean, there's just so much coming up, and I'm almost stumbling over myself to keep track of it, because now there's a potential for the week of WrestleMania to not just be like 4 or 5 days. Usually it's the Monday Night Raw, it's the NXT, and then it's the SmackDown before Mania. Now it's Raw, Hall of Fame, 2 nights of TakeOver, a SmackDown, 2 nights of WrestleMania, the Raw after WrestleMania, and then potentially this new night for NXT. That's what we're looking at. It's like 9 nights of TV. So it's a lot here.
10 if you count AEW on the Wednesday after NXT.
Yeah, which is incredible. And then they're also doing their show on Elevation, which I haven't been able to catch tonight. I know some fans will want to talk to us about that tonight. I'm trying to keep up with everything here at the same pace. I'll lean on you for this, because I got to catch about half of Monday Night Raw tonight. This is the thing. Our lives get complicated, right? We have family and different things like that. So when I was texting you with this, I was like, you got to see. Oh, good. You got to see everything here. Jay Feliciano texting in. He has a good insight on this. Jay joined us on the show last week, gave us his insight on the road to WrestleMania. He worked for WWE as a producer, by the way. So if you want to check that out, check out our most recent episode with him. He says, I see a triple threat at WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. Sheamus, he's so casual with him. Andrew and Bob, your thoughts. How do you see this playing out here? Final sequence of tonight's Monday at Raw. Bobby Lashley, Brutalizer Sheamus. They're hitting each other really hard. Drew sitting on the ringside. The match we know is this Sunday that has already been set up on this week's Monday at Raw is Sheamus versus Drew. Maybe the final match of theirs to get Drew ready for WrestleMania. Yet at the same time, it's Drew versus Lashley. Do you think maybe they jumped the gun announcing Drew versus Lashley and then giving us this main event? Because I thought, I don't know where it is. I think Drew is ready for WrestleMania after this weekend, but it's weird to draw it out for another 2 hours of TV to get you there, to get you to think that, let's just make Sheamus get the champion ready for TV. It's this weird thing where they have to drag stuff out, right?
I think it would have, we obviously knew that Drew was probably going to be the guy, but I think it would have been a little bit of a more interesting concept to just have the Drew and Sheamus match be number 1 contender at Fastlane, except if if what Jay is saying is true and they are trying to go down the route of a triple threat match, then having that be a number one contender match would not make sense. So I think the whole Sheamus attacking Lashley thing was just a setup for tonight's main event and not necessarily a WrestleMania build-up. But I could see if they wanted to add Sheamus just for the fact that Drew could get the pin to win the title and Lashley would not look weak in the process. Because I do think that Drew will probably get his crowning moment, which means Lashley will have to take a clean loss after this dominant build-up that he's had. But
is it the worst thing in the world?
What, for Lashley to lose clean at Mania?
Yeah.
No, I just think the way they've built him up, he should keep the title a little more than a month.
Is it just because he got it right before WrestleMania? You don't want to make him feel like...
Yeah, and I feel like...
You don't want to make him feel like a slightly stronger transitional.
And if you give it back to Drew again, it's almost like you're back to square one because Drew's already pretty much feuded with everybody there is to feud with, so who would be next?
I'm 50-50 on it because I feel like there's so much circumstantial things that aren't reflective of Drew or even reflective of Bobby, you know, which are just about live audiences and reactions and those things that supersede anyone even being over, quote unquote, you know, because let's be frank, these guys are kicking each other's ass. It's not like you watch Monday at Raw on a Monday. And I saw it in the main event. I saw it in the interaction earlier in the night with Drew and Sheamus and these different characters. Even when they're on the mic, there's no less than 100% with each of the guys. There's no less than 100%. And when you watch that main event, like Sheamus lost, but he didn't come off like a jabroni. He wasn't treated like he was a jabroni. And this was a hard fought win, make Bobby look strong. And then at the end of it, Bobby Lashley gets blasted with a Claymore. Drew looks strong. Here's your WrestleMania picture. Sheamus will get Drew ready. Maybe they do some different things with it on Sunday to shake it up a little bit because they've already done some different things to shake it up with it a bit. Like obviously making Bobby the champion.
I think the biggest thing they can do to shake this up is Sheamus beating McIntyre clean on Sunday because then you kind of have to add him to the match. If he beats, they're having a match at FASTLANE this Sunday, and if Drew were to lose to Sheamus clean, you can't just leave Sheamus out of the title match, you know?
Well, brings me back to the triple threat scenario. How do you fans watching feel about a Sheamus, Drew, Bobby Lashley triple threat? Does that feel more compelling to you? Because over with the other main men's title in WWE, the Universal title, it feels like some people feel a similar situation is coming together for WrestleMania. 2 nights, similar parallels, where you have Daniel Bryan playing the Disruptor, Edge winning the Royal Rumble, getting the proverbial traditional WrestleMania title shot slot, and Roman Reigns being the I'm holier than thou champion, how dare thee challenge me scenario. I think the scenario on SmackDown has a lot more gasoline to it, for lack of a better phrase.
Sure.
And could be a little bit more compelling. Could you see all these different scenarios playing out with a triple threat person and that proverbial, third tier, third wheel disruptor like a Sheamus or a Daniel Bryan in this case?
Yeah, I think if any match is going to be triple threat, it would be the Sheamus, McIntyre, and Lashley. I think Edge and Reigns is definitely a one-on-one match, and Daniel Bryan, I think they're just setting him up to be a feud for Edge after he wins the title at WrestleMania. I think that will be a feud.
You know what I want at WrestleMania? I'll tell you what I want. Is it okay to share what I want at WrestleMania? I want a little bit of WWE just to say like, hey, New Japan, you did the 2-night thing first, right? And I'm not saying they have to say it. They don't even have to say the words New Japan Pro Wrestling. They don't have to say the words Wrestle Kingdom. But the circumstances say it for them. Is that fair? 2 nights of WrestleMania means you don't have to just do one Universal title match. This match happens on this night, and the winner gets the shot the next night. Daniel Bryan, you got robbed. You got screwed. Well, guess what, Roman Reigns? You screwed yourself double, because if you get past Edge, you got to face Daniel Bryan night 2. I'm okay with that. And I do think with the way that Roman Reigns has set himself up for, I'm entitled. And WWE loves to play into general cultural notes. And there's a general cultural note of entitlement right now, especially with the vaccines and all these different things. I'm entitled to a life that I lost. But really, it's about earning back the life you lost. Daniel Bryan wants to earn back the life he lost. Edge is winning back the life he lost. Makes sense. Play some sense up there. I'm rooting for that to happen. Let me know what you think here. Joshua Snare texting in. WrestleMania going to be Tampa tickets, can't going. All right, that's how he feels about it here. Nesha Cursing, 11-time champs, the New Day. We will talk about that. We have 16 minutes in. We haven't even talked about the new tag team champions here. I think we see The Fiend this Sunday. Craig Backlund always wants to see some of The Fiend here. Continue to give us your comments about this week's Monday Night Raw and how it sets up the road to WrestleMania and the eve of 316. Do you know that we're on the eve of 316? Are you going to wait for the clock to click midnight and ask yourself where your kids are?
Well, since my birthday is on 316 Eve.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. Gonna drink some of this Monster Zero sugar for the man in Central PA. Hell yeah.
The real day, 315.
The real day, 315. You're the light beers. That's what you're.
I'm 26.
There you go. I love you lean in with the chin. What else do you want to talk about on tonight's Monday Night Raw? We have the main title scenario. I thought a great main event. I thought this was a solid main event. I thought, as much as people say WWE likes themselves some big guys, Bobby Lashley and Sheamus, even with Drew McIntyre outside the ring, had some real chemistry. They gave Bobby Lashley the clean win. He didn't look like a joke, but Drew getting his stuff in there was very WWE-esque. I didn't mind it. And Sheamus still feels like a player. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, let's, since you mentioned the tag match there, let's talk about the tag team match here tonight and what happened after, which was extremely more interesting to me. But first, let's talk about the match itself. It was a very good match. You kind of felt that the New Day were, it was time for them to get that number 11 there. The Hurt Business was good, but it was almost like they don't need it now. The Bobby's the main champ. I don't think the Hurt Business needs tag team championships. Although it certainly feels in recent weeks that Bobby has kind of been separating himself from the rest of the group. I think it's important they keep that core together moving forward. But what do you think about New Day winning the championships back again?
I wasn't absolutely in love with the match. I think these two different teams have had better matches together. Let's put that out there. But no one's going to deny that if Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, a Big E, go in the Hall of Fame, that if they went in the Hall of Fame as the New Day, that fans that are of a certain age would not contend that in almost any way. And any fans that would be reaching really hard because the credentials are there. You're talking 11 times. 11 times WWE's been able to go to this team and say, we're going to put the straps on you. And taking the straps off of you means something. In that regard, that means they are a foundational act in terms of tag teams, especially when you have two different tag team titles. But the match was good, wasn't great. And I don't hold that against the teams, especially when they've earned so much good grace with fans. But when you have a 2-night WrestleMania and you have two different tag divisions, I do think that adds more pressure. I do think that adds, and WrestleMania is this whole other elevated expectation. I do think this puts a lot more weight on New Day to provide something elementally, like on another elemental level, where it makes the tag belts mean something much more week to week past WrestleMania, even if they have them or they don't. They have to, in the course of what feels like, less than 4 weeks now, do something with the tag belts that hasn't been done since they have them. And those tag belts meant something. when they had them. It meant something when they had them on SmackDown because they are such big stars. And WWE is such a individual performer driven company. Even with tag teams, it doesn't feel like individual performers, but it's the individual brand where that's how keen New Day was. Let's make ourselves feel like individual performers. And in this match, they did, and give it to Hurt Business. They made this work. They made this scenario work, even though it was, for lack of a better play, a little bit played out, right? Don't you think, to a degree?
Yeah, I do agree. I think the most interesting part of this whole concept was that we went from a tag team championship match on Raw to having an official tag team championship match for WrestleMania. That is very intriguing because after this match tonight, AJ Styles music hits and you instantly know that you're getting basically what many have been asking for quite some time. And that is Omos to debut in a tag team match with AJ Styles for the championships. And look, I don't think there's anybody out there that doubts that AJ Styles and Omos are winning the tag team championships at WrestleMania. And I think this instantly brings life to the tag division, I think. I mean, Styles and Omos, AJ Styles is one of your main event players as the tag team champion, with Omos, who's like this interesting character that everybody's like knows he can wrestle, but they haven't seen him in over a year actually do it.
He's only been a supplemental character outside the ring.
Yeah, so
who's
what do you think?
Gigantically big,
and we know he's been training.
Sure, and Big Jordan. Many people out of the Performance Center know him under that name. Charlie Orr texting in. Shout out to Charlie Orr, Columbia College alum. What's up? Charlie saying New Day has to be reaching Hardy Boys level of legendary by this point. You know what? They're getting close to that. They're definitely the greatest tag team of their generation. And I appreciate you, John, bringing the other end on that because that was something I definitely want to touch on here. This is a different role for AJ. This is a different role. This is, hey, no singles feature that he's almost all exclusively been in since he's been in WWE, where he comes in and it's WrestleMania time and we love AJ. We got AJ. Let's put AJ in the feature WrestleMania. I don't want to say secondary match, but like the show stealer.
You know that crowd's going to pop for AJ and Omos, though.
I think they will. I really do. In a way, and I do think they will in a way, we have some people saying finally Omos going to be in the ring. They're feeling it. Harold texting here saying Kofi and Styles could do some great stuff in their match against each other. I absolutely agree. Maybe that's a single scenario you want to go with later on. I've heard some fans say that they would love to see that. I do think it's something cool, and I do think it's something that could be something special. It is, in a neat way, a nice lower level match. But you know this, John, that people were immediately saying, how do you not have AJ in the title match? How do you not have AJ? How do you not have AJ Styles, the perennial high performance show stealer performer in this match? You heard that. You saw that right away.
Actually, I haven't heard that.
You haven't heard that.
I think people are content with this, plain honestly, because I think people realize that AJ wasn't involved in any of those programs right now. I think it's a little different for somebody, say, like Nakamura, Cesaro, Daniel Bryan on the SmackDown side that are, literally doing nothing.
They haven't built up your expectations enough.
Yeah,
WWE hasn't, but maybe fans have. Is that fair?
Well, I think the fact that he's been with Omos now, I think people have been just waiting for this moment to happen, and I think that this is perfect for everybody involved, really, because. What was New Day going to do at WrestleMania? We didn't know. What was AJ Styles going to do? We didn't know. Similar to like Kevin Owens. We just didn't know. I think he fits in perfectly.
Shout out to our rest friend, Iridian Fierro. I'm adding some spice to it. Go check out the podcast. Our very own Robert DeValice was on it last week talking about Baboni. She wants to talk about Baboni winning a Grammy and losing the 24/7 belt. Your hot celebrity, and he is hot. You know, he was just on the Grammys. He just did NBC on SNL. I know people are sort of overlooking this with the pivot to let's just get people in the building for WrestleMania this year. John, that's the number one thing you're concerned about. You don't care about Bad Bunny. But if you want to get a casual person to pull into the show that hasn't watched WWE in a while, Bad Bunny is a hook, and he just lost his belt, and now the celebrity has something to chase into WrestleMania?
He just basically gave it away. He didn't really lose it. He got the Stone Cold Championship in exchange for the 24/7 Championship. I guess it was an interesting way to do it. I think it would have been more interesting if The Miz were to cost him the title instead. But it was very interesting to see Bad Bunny take that guitar hit to the back from The Miz, because that's really the most that he's actually gotten physical so far. He sold it very well. I thought that was very good. And our predictions were right. It looks like we're going to get this tag match WrestleMania. Damian Priest, I think he should look strong and get a good pin in this match. I don't want them to give the pin to like Bad Bunny over The Miz. I think Damian Priest.
The thing is, I think for the moment they'll do that. I really think
I'm not disagreeing there. I'm just saying I think that Damian Priest. Okay, I can see something where Damian Priest just completely destroys somebody and then tags in Bad Bunny. He does a little frog splash and gets the pin. That's probably what's going to happen. But obviously he's probably going to go away after.
You're calling the spots. You're calling the spots for them. Oh, it'll be a little frog splash.
Well, it's so predictable. Easy. That's exactly what's going to happen. Are you disagreeing?
No, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying how long we've collectively watched wrestling.
John Morrison pins Bad Bunny clean.
Hey, if Bad Bunny loves the business,
he does,
right? And here's the thing: I'm not putting anything out to the Bad Bunny fans that find this show through algorithms or anything like that. He genuinely loves wrestling. I think this guy genuinely has a respect for it and wants to do right by it, and is doing it because he wants to do it. It isn't just like, oh, I want to do it, you know? I don't think a Randy Orton would put that endorsement on him. He's the ultimate gatekeeper. Like a Randy Orton is a gatekeeper. Certain guys of his level in the business are gatekeepers. I trust his opinion. If he says, this guy really wants to be here as a celebrity and a complimentary player and bring us his audience, I'm down for it. I think I'm okay with this. Anyone who's against this is like, it's going to be a 5-minute match. You know, Iridium follow-up with this. He's going to have a better frog. He's going to have a better frog splash than Snoop. Snoop-a-loop maybe doesn't have the best frog splash. We saw that in AEW, but, you know, Snoop Hit is fun. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't mind it. Come on, John. You say you're a big celebrity influencer. You get so big I can barely keep you on WrestleZone. I know you're rolling your eyes, okay? I can barely keep you on WrestleZone, and I'm just begging for your time to be on WrestleZone. And you're just like, dude, I got to sell sneakers on Instagram or whatever, right? And you get to work WrestleMania or something. You know that's going to happen, by the way. Some social media influencer is going to get like a spot on a pay-per-view or something. I'm not saying it. I'm predicting it. And when it happens, you guys can clip this and, you know, run with it. Yes. That's a possibility here. Harold texting in here. Harold says, should Morrison beat the 24/7 title and then maybe Bunny has Truth win it next week? Are we going to hopscotch this thing until WrestleMania? It's a belt. They have 19 titles. Do you know that now? They have 19 titles actively in WWE. Are they going to hopscotch this belt until WrestleMania?
No, R-Truth has it, and I think he's probably going to keep it again for a while, or else they'll go back to what they were doing before. What do you think?
It's a title where if you changed it, I don't know what it would be. It's complementary to just WWE. You can officially say it's a title. Bad Bunny did do right by WWE. He, you know, brought that belt out on NBC, and I don't know if he wore that during the Grammys. I didn't see anything during the Grammys with it exactly. But it's the celebrity rub. That's what the idea of the title was. I don't think it dismisses the title. It probably adds more value to it than maybe you could with wrestling, as much as it may piss fans off. Let me talk to you about this. Miz versus Drew McIntyre. This is a different Miz, a couple weeks removed from losing the title. And Drew McIntyre, maybe a couple of weeks from regaining the title. What do you think?
What do you mean?
Where does this stand? Where does this issue? I mean, Drew got through this match, right?
Yeah.
And there were ring steps and there were all these different shenanigans to do it. But I think this is a long road to make Miz feel relevant again to a degree while still giving Drew his ultimate outcome.
I don't see The Miz being anywhere near the main title picture anytime soon, to be honest. I think, if anything, him and Morrison would be a tag player somewhere, or maybe eventually they break up and go after each other, but I don't see The Miz getting into the main event picture anytime soon.
A couple texts coming here. Miz won't get the title back for a while. People not feeling that as well. So people not too far off from you there as well. It just seems like it's an ultimate destination now that we're getting Drew versus Bobby, Edge versus Reigns, maybe Sheamus and Daniel Bryan, vice versa, get to complement those scenarios. I know we've already touched on it there. I don't think it's too far off. Does that discourage you from a 2-night WrestleMania, or does that hold you over for 2 nights?
I think that'll hold you over. You don't?
Something that doesn't. I'm on the edge. I just think WrestleMania this year is going to be fun because there's fans there. I know it seems like a cop-out.
We
right?
hope.
We hope about that. I know that feels like a cop-out, right? For me just to say that the main event of WrestleMania this year is fans. But honestly, is that wrong? Like, that isn't the wrong take, right? I don't think it's a wrong take here. I want to talk about this, though. I didn't like this last week on Raw. I don't know how fond I am of it this week. It feels like they tried to add some other things to it to make it a little bit lighter, but Braun Strowman in the ring with Shane McMahon. We're getting a Braun Strowman Shane McMahon match of some kind at WrestleMania. They tease it with Brains versus Braun. Because Braun's just strong and dumb.
Get it.
Yeah, what do you think here?
I think that it is starting to make a little sense.
It's making more than it did last week.
Yeah, it's making more than it did last week, but here's the problem, and I did see this around social media everywhere today. What they're trying to do right now, internally, like with the Thunderdome, is they want Shane McMahon to seem like this really bad guy that everybody hates and that everybody's not going to like. But here's the reality of it. At WrestleMania, people are going to cheer Shane McMahon, and they're probably going to boo Braun Strowman, and they need to embrace that and build around that. Because
it's weird. You make a great point there, because there is this sense of, are we just a little like, are we just about, like, I don't want to say like 5% off from the organic reaction we would get. Are we about like 10% off? And if you're 10% off of that real reaction you would normally get with real fans, WWE, outside of NXT, Raw and SmackDown, which are much more popular brands than NXT, no shot at NXT, they're virtual brands right now in terms of, it is exclusively social media is how they see the instantaneous reaction to what they're doing on TV on Mondays and Fridays. NXT has fans there, but it's choreographed and casted to a degree, right? So you can almost say they're virtual too. So it's kind of challenging. I do think there will be issues like that at WrestleMania. Some people have told me they're going to cheer for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Oh yeah, Edge, great, you're coming back, but I'm 15. I don't care about Edge the way that maybe someone 10 or 15 years older than me does. I'm a 20-year-old female. I'm a 22-year-old male. I love Roman Reigns. He's been my guy since I was a little kid. So I could see some of younger fans not having the set, like set what we're going for reaction with the audience.
Sure. And I think with this feud in particular, it's more important because the whole thing they're doing basically revolves around Shane being booed and Braun looking like the good guy. They're essentially repeating what they did with Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax a few years ago, where Shane McMahon is the bully to Braun Strowman and telling him he's stupid and that he's worthless and that nobody likes him. What that doesn't work as well because Braun Strowman doesn't care. He doesn't care if somebody calls him stupid. And he doesn't care if he doesn't have any friends. But they want you to care. They want you to feel bad for Braun and cheer him and boo Shane, and that's just not going to happen. Now at Fastlane, we're not going to get a match. I mean, even though there is a match on the card, there was supposed to be a match tonight too that didn't happen. Something similar is going to happen on Sunday that's going to set up WrestleMania, unless they somehow decide that this isn't worth WrestleMania and they just end it this Sunday, but that's highly unlikely.
Joshua Schnare. He wants a shout out. And I'll say this. If you're watching for the first time, go ahead and share the link. Maybe I'll shout you out. That's all I ask. If you're watching and you're not commenting on the podcast while we're doing it live, get in the mix. You're here. You're here in the moment. Jump in. Get your moment, baby. You want your close to Mania moment? Here you go. Go ahead and shout it out here. So I want to know what the fans think here. What other active programs you think on Monday Night Raw catch your attention? We got Lana versus Naomi, Dana Brooke. Obviously, Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose pick up the win here. A little bit of a surprise because I thought maybe they were going in the direction of Naomi and Lana just on the winner's road to WrestleMania.
Let's talk about another interesting program on Raw. Asuka returning tonight. People thought that she was concussed, which she was, but people thought this was going to possibly affect her WrestleMania plans. Clearly not the case. She came back tonight and was fine in the ring. But here's what's interesting.
She looked really good too. She looked strong. She did not look weathered by her time off.
And we're getting Naya and Shayna versus Sasha and Bianca this week, obviously. But what's more interesting to me is that they're really investing into this Shayna and Asuka thing right now. And what about Charlotte, who already challenged Asuka? Yeah. But it's like they're doing Asuka Shayna because there's something going on there. It's a big jumble to me right now. I have no idea where they're going with this. I could see Asuka defending against either Charlotte or Shayna. Either one I could see happening. But what do you think about Asuka returning tonight, being good to go, and seemingly just a more aggressive version of herself?
I think it's relieving for a segment of the diehard female wrestling audience that wanted something a little bit out of the norm for wrestling this year at WrestleMania. I do think people who are casual fans want the legitimacy of Charlotte, and Charlotte is legit, no matter what you want to say. We posted a story today, and you saw this. We posted a story today about Charlotte. She's going to have a TV role with NBC Universal for a TV film that could become a series. If it does become a series, it's a little bit more of a drastic pull apart from WWE for her to be in a reboot of the action series, action film, Walking Tall. Now, that was a big thing in the 70s. Rock got to do it in 2004. More than a decade later, Charlotte gets to do a female version of it. I think they could have done a different version of it, but whatever. I haven't seen the script, right? So there's already speculation that she got that because she's Ric Flair's daughter. What's the number one BS thing that you've heard about Charlotte her entire career?
That her success has revolved around her father being Ric Flair.
Exactly. And the success is revolved around her being at WrestleMania because of her father. And that when she comes off injury, she gets whatever her want because she is that because of her father. How about this? She's nearly 6 foot, looks different from any other woman. All right. Creates jealousy amongst the fan base. That's different. And I'm not calling up any cards there. Anyone who makes you jealous, got you. They've got you just a little bit. Once they get with you with another finger, they've got you all in their hand. They've just pulled you in. All right. And I think with Charlotte, there's just this like built up resentment. You know, Neshaker saying Charlotte has earned her spot.
She certainly earned it. I mean, she might have been given an opportunity because Rick was her dad, but from what she did with it there was on her own. Like, she could have flopped and then been a failure, you know? We've seen that before. We've seen people come in that have family and they haven't been successful. Like Curtis Axel, aka Michael McGillicuddy. I mean, you know.
Yeah. Son of Mr. Perfect.
He didn't pan out. Charlotte Flair has.
It's not a shot at him. You know, like he's a very, very talented guy. If he wanted to wrestle again, I think he could be a huge success anywhere he wants. And there's just some people in the WWE system that don't. And maybe I'm not putting that on the WWE, not putting on the performer. It's just the way it is, you know? And Charlotte is somebody who came up in the WWE system, has hit every plateau that she's supposed to hit while also having injuries. You know what I mean? While also having all these other things. Now, obviously, the outside of the ring stuff, everyone's saying that her fiance, her partner, Andrade, formerly La Sombra, has asked for his release last week from WWE. And so that means because she's with him that they're going to leave. That is so on the level. When you look at a couple that's working in wrestling in the two major companies, in WWE, in NXT, like an Adam Cole and a Britt Baker, where they're in two prime positions. They are in two top spots. Adam Cole is literally set up to be in one of the top spots at TakeOver. Britt Baker is going to headline Dynamite and do their first female main event this week on TV. They're figuring it out. I'm not talking about some couple. Like, I know them, and I'm really, really tired of wrestling fans talking about individual personal relationships that are not portrayed on TV as character relationships, as if they know them. You know what I mean? Like, that is so overstepping what you think you know as a fan. That's just me. What else do you want to touch on tonight's Monday Night
Raw? Let's briefly talk about Riddle successfully retaining the United States Championship against Ali tonight.
I was rooting for Ali to get this belt, man. I thought the match was solid, not great. I was hoping for a little bit more time, a little bit more feature.
This was Riddle's best match since coming to the main roster.
Was.
Ali is very good also. He's just stuck in the storyline that is likely ending at WrestleMania or shortly after. I want to see them do something with Ali.
Especially after tonight, I got the impression with the way Retribution was featured in it. For lack of a better phrase, I don't know if you could call what they did tonight featured, but it definitely felt like it was just a matter of you get to see the breakup at WrestleMania. You get to see this team written off at WrestleMania, and the thing is, like, Ali, it already feels like he's performing beyond this thing. You know what I mean? Like it already feels like he did this incredible promo on social media tonight, and this is bad. When you can say that you see something on social media that someone films on their cell phone on a tripod that he found where American flag is like laid out in like an industrial building or a government building. He put this on social media today, and the flag is draped, and he wants to be the United States champion. And he's going to say, I represent real America right now, and you don't, and you're a joke. Perfect. Like perfect stuff. Like perfect stuff you can only do now and then. And it came off like he shot it on his own. He did it on his own.
He probably did.
He cut it on his own and posted it on his own.
He probably did.
And he probably did. And mind you, he probably had a sign off from WWE's creative to do this. But this guy has done this a handful of times. He did this before his last entry that put him on the shelf and cost him WrestleMania in 2019. He's a hyper creative guy. He's one of those younger guys where I'm like, you have that creative edge and also like a certain like vintage in the ring. I would love to see him be a creative guy after he's done in the ring. I really would, because he gets the formatics of it, and the promo was like done in 90 seconds, got his storyline points in, and it made me think. And I'm with you. I've been watching the whole time. The promo was like, what if he wins this title on the road to WrestleMania? They got me guessing. Now, mind you, the match went another way. Solid match. Not great, but solid. And Riddle has that belt going into Mania.
It's truly crazy to think about the position that Ollie could be in right now if it weren't for that injury last year.
Yeah.
He had the tools. He had the positioning that he was going to succeed. And look, I think he would have been successful. Honestly, his story kind of reminds me like how Jinder was. You know, he just kind of showed up and was champion for a couple months, and if not for his injury, he might still be relevant too in the main event scene. So we're going to have a lot of people coming back after WrestleMania. Jinder Mahal should be back. We got Keith Lee; he'll be coming back.
Feel bad for him. He got bit. He got bit at the wrong time, didn't he?
Yeah,
he got bit. He got bit at the wrong time. I don't know if it was a COVID exposure scenario or an injury. There's a mixture of reports that we've heard about both with him. He had such great momentum. We were talking about him in like early January being in like a prime title match at WrestleMania, and now it looks like that's not the case. So I feel very, very bad for him because I feel he can definitely have it. But here's the thing: I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to be called upon as like a utility player after WrestleMania just to shake things up. That's not a bad role to be in, you know, to be there that Monday night after Mania.
Pretty interesting Raw tonight overall, though. I think it was a pretty good show to lead into FASTLANE.
I caught about half of it, so I don't feel fair giving it the rating. So I'll depend on you, Jonathan, tonight to give the all-encompassing, definitive, never to be. You don't need to go to a 5-star Meltzer. God bless him, Papa Dave. All right, all hail and within wrestling media, Papa Dave. But the 1 to 10, the 1 being the 1 being you're never going to WrestleMania again. The 10 being Jonathan Clark. I got this extra WrestleMania ticket, and here I know how much you want it. Here you go. Where does this week's Monday Night Raw on the road to WrestleMania stand?
7.
A solid 7. Why is that?
I thought it was pretty good. There was some interesting developments, with the introduction of AJ and Omos, as AJ would say, a registered tag team now. He says they're registered now. So that was interesting.
I always love the semantics of like a single star just utilizing some side character like that. We saw this back in the day with Bobby Heenan, and I saw some fans bitching and moaning, oh wait, they're just a tag team now. I was like, really, you're complaining about this? And because it made me think of like Bobby Heenan saying, I have a managerial license, you know, like when he would jump from color commentator to just managing insert heel here, and it meant more because Bobby Heenan was at ringside, and that's how big of a star he was. Almost, I would hope, does that for other people. Even if he's not a great wrestler, I would hope he adds something to the person he's backing up in the ring. It'd be all right. I'd be okay with that. If he was just a big guy who could do a handful of things and just whoever almost backs up in the ring becomes a big thing. I don't know if that lends itself to his physical intimidation, but it does make him an attraction. So, play up to what you have. I'm not rearing to go for WrestleMania. We're a month out here. I do think it was a setback tonight to hear that news about tickets being delayed. I do know that you are shaking your head on this thing because a week ago they're telling us these tickets go on sale tomorrow.
Yeah, and we're supposed to sign up for this pre-sale, and then when we wake up this morning, we never get an email about a pre-sale, but yet all these local media outlets are saying pre-sale starts at 10 today. Well, there's no pre-sale at 10, so the schedule clearly called for a pre-sale today at 10, and WWE pivoted and apparently failed to let these people know because they had no idea what was going on, which makes people like me that are in the public see this and think, well, they don't have their crap together. So it appears now that, according to Tom Phillips, that they hope to give us a new on-sale date before Raw next Monday. So that means we might head into this weekend at it could be FASTLANE before they announce a new on sale date. I wouldn't doubt if that was when they announced it, is at FASTLANE. So we're literally looking at this point, realistically, that tickets will go on sale 2 weeks before the show, which is crazy to think they can sell out that quick, but I think they still can. But that's still crazy.
We'll see. I'm of the thought that they can.
If they can persuade a lot of locals to come just for a night or a night or two, which I think they can.
I'm of the thought that they can. I'm of the thought that they can because there's this delayed sense.
But here's what people are worried about. People are thinking so they said they're still sorting out logistics and specifics. What do you think that is? Do you think it's COVID related? Do you think it's capacity related? I mean, we heard breaking news
so
tonight.
Much. It isn't just one of those things that you mentioned. There's so many.
I covered yesterday on WrestleZone.com a story that internally leaked that WWE wants to put on the biggest event since COVID started, which would be over 35,000. They won 45,000.
45.
Well, no, they won 45, but the previous record was 35 right now.
Okay, so if they break 35, then they would get it.
But then we get the news tonight from Dana White at UFC that they are running a UFC event in Jacksonville next month at 100% capacity. So now,
and where are they running that event?
It's in an indoor arena. They won't be able to get 45,000, but they'll be able to get 20,000 at a full arena.
If they even get like 80% or something.
But the rumor going around was that the governor of Florida said
they're going for 100. UFC is going for 100% in Jacksonville.
Yes.
And so they can get 20,000. So that's an arena. That's about right. So then you think WWE delayed it just to break that number?
No, I think there's logistics involved, and this is what I mean. The governor of Florida has already said that they're allowed to go 100% if they want to. But
DeSantis.
Yes. But there was never a confirmed report from the city of Tampa that was allowing them to have more than what they originally agreed to.
Because you have the governor's order, and then you have the individual towns saying, hey, the governor can say this, but we don't want this.
Tampa originally approved 20,000, but then WWE comes and says, well, we want 45,000. And the rumor is that Tampa never actually approved the 45,000. So
now they're mired in the muck of
like a negotiation.
So they're mired in the muck of dealing with. They basically have to negotiate with public officials about what they can get, what the public official is going to let them do. Because at that point, if you're talking about 45,000, you are absolutely talking about people. I don't want to say outside of the United States.
80% of the arena, though.
Yeah, you're talking about 80%. You're not talking about 50%. So they hold 65,000 at Raymond James Stadium. So just to put this in perspective, I know we're shouting out numbers here, and I want the people who are listening to podcasts to follow along. So this weekend we find out WWE in a 65,000 seat stadium is shooting for 45,000. Mind you, that's a football stadium. It's designed for 65,000 with football, not using the field. This would be 45,000, alleviating a lot of space to be able to use the field to get an extra 9,000 people on there, right?
Yeah.
So the issue then, as John complicated it here, just based on your due diligence and people you've talked to, would be that Tampa may or may not be saying, no, 45 is too much for us to handle because we have to bring in our police and all these different things and scan people and trace people. Can our hotels handle this? Because they've been meeting with hotels about this as well. And then you factor in the state governor of Florida, not the local officials immediately in Tampa City, saying, go for broke. We want the state tax revenue. So it's really this weird political thing where WrestleMania, oddly, is being used as this chip to play the state against those hyper-local governments, which is very, very weird for governor as a state governor of any state.
Like a test, really, because we got baseball season coming, and this could be a good test for coming into football season next year. Can they do 80%? Because and everybody listening should know that if some kind of outbreak happens after this, WWE is going to get blamed for it.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. It's definitely a challenging situation. And I heard many fans say 45,000 is too much. 20,000 felt doable. But I love how it's just all speculative. Like
First it was 20, then it was 25, then it was like, well, maybe we can fit 30, and all of a sudden it was 45.
But also, we don't know how many they can get on the field and spread them out too. So it's a whole lot.
So I think the big thing to take out of this is the fact that expect tickets not to go on sale until 2 weeks before the actual event. And
which makes it really hard to sell those tickets.
Yes, and obviously something had to have happened in the last week because they would not have advertised this so hard up until today.
No,
and then they were like, well, we can't do this now.
This isn't like, for people that are just jumping on. I know we have a lot of casual fans that tune in this time of year. And guess what? You guys are still wrestling fans. Just because you're tuning in this time of year does not mean you're any less of a wrestling fan. Sorry, hardcore guys. More people watch wrestling fans, watch wrestling this time of year, and are wrestling fans this time of year. I think there is some issue that came up in the last week where maybe WWE felt it was necessary to say, like, hey, let's pull back a little bit. And if we put these tickets on sale, we could lose 10 or 15,000 people. If we can do 45,000, good. If we still feel, win or lose in this pivot, that we're still going to get 30,000, maybe it's worth it. Maybe it's worth it for us to do this. Also, if they do 20,000 in a 65-seat stadium, I don't think that's a loss either. I really, really don't think it's a loss either. I get the idea of WWE as a publicly traded company feeling the need to defeat these numbers and stay on par with all these other big brands. But at this point, I'm not saying they need to do those things, but I think it's just a success to run an event at this scale, even if you're not selling out, to do it and do it safely. And I call on everyone that buys a ticket, John, yourself included, to do all the responsible things you're supposed to do. And then the pivot is, you spent your money, now do your due diligence. Go out of respect to the people around you that you don't know. They could be within 10 or 12 feet of you, not even just 6 feet. And wear that mask and wash your hands and do your things that you're supposed to do. Maybe drink a few less beers, right? And just be honorable of, oh, wow, I'm one of a very select few people that get to see this event on this stage in this way.
There's a difference between it being a privilege and a right.
And this is, I would say, even if you're spending the money, this is absolutely a privilege. This is absolutely a privilege to go to. And I'm rooting for you, Johnny, because obviously we're pals, and I want one of our WrestleZone boys to get in. And I've talked to some media people that are going in, and the sentiment amongst the media folks that have got in, let me know, John works for WrestleZone. He's not getting the media pass. Maybe some WrestleZone people will get in, but we don't know right now. John is just like you. He's trying to get a ticket just like everybody else.
As a fan.
And I honestly think it's an interesting story for us to follow here at WrestleZone. But talking to people, there is a sense of like, oh, wow, we're going to be in this thing. And maybe we'll be in the press box. And
something you'll look down 20 years from now and say, I was at the first event back.
Absolutely. And I think any fan that will be talking to podcasts for 10 years from now. I'm rooting for you. I'm really rooting for you. Obviously, in the next few days, we'll know more. It'll be weird if by Wednesday we know, okay.
Hopefully by Wednesday for our post show, we can talk more about it then.
But I mean, it definitely feels like maybe, do you think this is kind of taking some steam out of the road to WrestleMania?
In a sense, I think they're a little hypocritical because Drew McIntyre actually cut a segment tonight in which he said verbatim, word for word, when you promise the fans something and don't deliver, they get pissed. He was saying that in regards to him guaranteeing a win and then not winning and fans being pissed. But think about it. What he just said there, WWE promising fans tickets would go on sale. They're not delivering tomorrow and fans are pissed.
Other people feelings about tonight's Monday Night Raw. We get an 8.5 rating. Truth got his baby back tonight. Yes, he did win the 24/7 championship back in some weird scenario here. A lot of different shenanigans. Great restaurant. Have you ever been to Shenanigans? It's right next to Bennigan's. It's the Irish themed pub place with pub beer. Shenanigans. That is a deep Super Troopers reference if you want to check it out here. Do have to talk about this story here. We did hear, unfortunately, today, we haven't heard much more details about it, but we've heard about it from verified sources about a potential outbreak of COVID-19 just about a month out from WrestleMania. Not with Raw or SmackDown, but with the WWE Performance Center and some potential names in NXT. Now, this news came out today. It's been brewing over the weekend, but kind of came to a head. We don't know any specific names. WWE's been kind of selective about when they say, oh, this person's dealt with COVID-19, this person hasn't. Some of those same superstars have talked about it months after you didn't see them for a couple weeks. And oh, wow, that makes sense. AJ Styles talked about it, like on the Twitch stream.
And if it leaks, they'll typically say who it is, too.
Yeah, but it's usually months and months after they already dealt with it. And AEW did, too. You know, the Young Bucks, some of the Young Bucks dealt with it. Chris Jericho dealt with it. And they weathered it, and God bless them, they're all okay. You know, The Rock, well outside of WWE, probably one of the biggest wrestling names to deal with it. So they deal with it, and now there's this issue now. Well, we don't want to talk about it in this hyper bubble pressurized circumstance that is the Performance Center, because there's so much pressure on the Performance Center right now as NXT, the third tier brand, moves potentially to a different TV night off of Wednesdays, new pressure on them under a new circumstance. I can see that outside stuff. Here's the real thing, guys. Just root for everyone to be okay. Just root for everyone to be okay. Like, is it too hard to just say, I don't want anyone to get sick or hurt by this? Like, we can talk about that in our news reports and different things like that. This is the opinion-driven show. Why? WWE didn't do enough to do this. We had counteractive reports this weekend where you have WWE management fuming at the neck about how they feel some of the superstars are not following this, have gotten lazy, and we've seen this in our own lives, John. You know, about some people aren't wearing masks, or I'm waiting to get my vax. I haven't got my vax yet. You know, here's the thing: either you get your vax or you don't. If you have your vax, there's some level of security, you know, still wear your mask, be respectful of other people, be considerate. It's just a general consideration thing. But we've all been so tied up in our own lives. You know, even the superstars are bound to that. You know, they're tied up in their own lives. They want a little let loose. And I hope that doesn't cause any outbreaks. Hopefully that isn't the case here, but we've heard of positive cases coming out. We don't know how many.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting because they did advertise a few things tonight on Raw, like LA Knight will still be in ring action. They also still advertised Finn Balor addressing Karrion Kross. So it appears they're still advertising quite a bit of the same stuff they were last week, but we'll see what they do between now and then.
Many other people chiming in about the WrestleMania issue. Ed chiming in here saying there are more space for fans to attend WrestleMania to social distance as the stadium field space is big, particularly big. Yeah, that's true. You know, hey, I don't mind that. You know, that's another thing is you got to think of the specs of this thing. You know, you don't put out as many seats. That means an extra 800 seats. The price difference between the seat on the floor and the seat in the stands, that's significant. Even if it's just 20, 30 feet, it's very, very significant. Steve, who's always with, thank you so much, Steve. Your beautiful dog is your avatar photo here. Says, despite 45,000 or less for WrestleMania, will there be any Thunderdome for WrestleMania? I'm of the thought that there will be some type of virtual fan element at WrestleMania. I'm of that thought that there will be something, whether it's the entranceway, whether it's an entire section of the arena filled up with LED screens. It has been such, whether fans like it or not, across the board. There are some fans that are so hungry for it. And it is something so palpable that comes off so much on camera that I think we will see some form of Thunderdome-ism at WrestleMania.
Probably, yeah, I would agree.
No guarantee there, but I think it's possible. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. Did you have a good time? Did you enjoy this? If you're watching this still, how have you not hit the thumbs up button? How have you not shared the link? For you could be the one who stinks. You can pass this along in any of the different Facebook groups that you're in, any of the different YouTube groups that you follow as well, and also Twitch. This is me speaking too fast. I'm ahead of myself. Just get a load of this. You know what that is? Tell me what that is, John.
That's a PlayStation 4 controller.
You're darn right it is. And I'm titching on this. So whether I'm titching or twitching, I'm ahead of myself. I have gotten this from the nephew. I have plugged this into the computer. And I'm now playing Retromania. Fun play. Fun play of a game. $30. This game came out a few weeks ago, just about over 3 weeks ago. It has a bunch of fun names that aren't in WWE, a bunch of fun names that are now back in WWE, some Hall of Famers. Fun game, a throwback to 90s wrestling games in the kind of 16-bit Sega Genesis era. A little bit of the WrestleFest. It's the spiritual sequel to WrestleFest. I know you've heard a lot about it, John. This is a really, really fun game. I suggest you go get it. Maybe you and I could play on it. And you can kick my ass in it. Because another thing I've discovered by playing this game is I'm not good at video games. I was holding the game, as you can see this, the podcast people can. I was holding the game like this during the first match, which is not the way you're supposed to hold a controller. All right, I'm holding it upside down. Literally, the wrong way you would read a book. And it took me 5 minutes to figure that out. That's how long it's been since I played a video game. I'm that old. All right, if you've been with us this long, go ahead and share the link. Appreciate it here. We have a brand new interview up now with Eric Bischoff. It took me over an hour to mention that. He spent 49 minutes with us, 49 minutes in the mind of one of the most influential people in professional wrestling about his time in AWA, which precedes WCW. You get to see where this guy was before he made it. I think it's a really interesting period. I want to know more about Hulk Hogan in AWA. I want to know more about Stone Cold Steve Austin before even a WWE. Even though we've heard it, there's more stories to tell there. So you want a deeper cut with a name you know, we got one for you. All right. Another great reason to subscribe to this podcast right now on Spotify, Apple, and all the different apps. Thank you so much, John Clark. They want to follow you on the Twitter machine. Where do they go?
John R. Clark 12.
You can follow me at Kev Kelm. I will be at Market Lounge in Valparaiso, Indiana this Friday. 2 shows, 8 p.m. and 10:30. Go ahead and spread the word. I will see you tomorrow on WrestleZone.com. John, we can argue about whether or not you're going to be at WrestleMania. And I'm rooting for you to be there, buddy. I really, really am. But the question remains, if you don't go to it physically, will you still enjoy wrestling?
Yes.
You said it like you said it and you took a sip of a drink like you were giving you were at a congressional hearing. Yes, Senator, I will enjoy wrestling. Let me just step away from the microphone as I'm very nervous. I'm going to take a sip of water. Yes, I will enjoy wrestling. Enjoy wrestling, everybody. Take care.